My parents always trusted my sister's lies and made me out to be the bad one, until I finally revealed the truth about her in front of everyone. I stood there at the family dinner table, watching everyone process what I'd just done. My dad's fork hit his plate with a loud clank. He didn't even try to pick it back up. My mom's face drained of color, her eyes wide like she couldn't believe what was happening. My sister didn't move, didn't blink, didn't say a word. She had no clue I'd been holding on to the evidence all this time. For years, she'd controlled every narrative, every situation, every person in this family. But not anymore. I'd waited for this moment, and when I dropped the stack of papers, call logs, screenshots, receipts, right in the middle of the table, she lost it all. The room went dead quiet. No one knew what to do next. Growing up, my sister had this gift for twisting reality. She didn't just lie, she built entire stories that my parents swallowed without question. I wasn't just the odd one out in the family. I was the one they blamed for everything. If a vase broke, I got the lecture, even if I wasn't home. If money went missing from my mom's purse, my sister would point at me, and that was that. My parents never asked for proof. They didn't need it. Her word was enough, and mine didn't matter. She figured out early on that she could do whatever she wanted as long as she had them on her side. And she used it. Every single time. Things got harder when we hit our teenage years. My sister's lies grew bigger, and the consequences for me got worse. She started using me as her shield whenever she messed up. One time, she threw a party at our house while our parents were out of town. The place was trashed, empty cups everywhere, a broken lamp, stains on the carpet. When they got back, she told them I'd invited a bunch of random people over without permission. I wasn't even there that night, I'd been at a friend's house studying. But she cried, said she tried to stop me, and they bought it. I got grounded for 3 months, no phone, no going out, nothing. She got a pat on the back for handling it, and extra hugs because she was so upset about the chaos. I tried telling them the truth, showed them a timestamp photo from my friend's place, but my dad just said I'd planned it all to cover my tracks. That's when I realized they'd never listen. She didn't stop there. Small stuff turned into bigger stuff. She'd take my things, clothes, books, even my headphones, and say I'd lost them. If I pointed it out, she'd tell my parents I was accusing her out of jealousy. They'd nod and tell me to stop being petty. It wasn't just about getting away with things, she enjoyed watching me take the fall. I could see it in her face every time they turned on me. She'd sit there, quiet, while I got yelled at, knowing she'd win again. I thought moving out would end it. I got my own place after high school, started working, and figured the distance would keep her out of my life. It didn't. She found ways to drag me back into her games. She told my parents I'd borrowed $500 from her and never paid it back. I hadn't asked her for anything, ever. But they called me up, furious, saying I needed to own up to my debts. I explained I didn't borrow a dime, but my mom said I was lying to avoid responsibility. My sister sent them fake text screenshots, stuff she'd typed up herself, making it look like I'd begged her for cash. They didn't even ask to see my side of the conversation. Another time, she told them I'd called her awful names at a family barbecue. I wasn't even there, I'd skipped it because I had work. Still, they lectured me over the phone for an hour about respecting family. I asked why they didn't check if I'd attended, but they said I was dodging the issue. It kept going like that. Every few months she'd invent something new. She'd say I ignored her birthday, even though I'd sent a gift. She'd claim I refused to help her with car trouble, when I'd never gotten a call. My parents always took her side. They'd call me ungrateful, selfish, a bad brother. I started wondering if they'd ever see through her. But by then, I was too tired to fight every battle. I just took the hits and kept my head down. Then my sister got engaged, and everything ramped up. I didn't want anything to do with her wedding, but my parents insisted I help out. They said it was my duty as family. She took full advantage of that. She told everyone I refused to pitch in, that I didn't care about her big day. My mom called me crying, saying I was ruining her happiness. My dad left a voicemail telling me to step up or not bother showing up at all. Meanwhile, I'd already paid for her dress fitting, $200 out of my own pocket. I'd spent hours online helping her find a venue that fit her budget. I even drove across town to meet her at appointments she'd begged me to attend. She told the family I'd bailed on all of it. She said I didn't show up, didn't answer her calls, didn't lift a finger. My parents believed her without asking me a single question. I had proof this time though. I kept the receipt from the dress shop with my card number on it. I saved the emails from the venue owners confirming dates and times. I had texts from her thanking me for showing up, plus photos I'd taken at the fittings, me standing there, holding her purse while she tried on dresses. She didn't know I'd held on to all of it. I didn't tell anyone yet. I just filed it away, waiting for the right moment. I was done letting her rewrite my life. This wasn't about petty revenge. It was about showing them who she really was. The wedding planning gave me the chance to build a case she couldn't talk her way out of. I decided to make my move at the next big family dinner. It was a few months before her wedding, and everyone was there: parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, even her fiancé. She started her usual routine. She brought up how she just moved into a new apartment with her fiancé and said I'd refused to help. She told them I ignored her calls, left her stranded with boxes, ghosted her when she needed me most. My parents jumped in right away. My dad shook his head and stared at me like I'd committed a crime. My mom muttered something about how I'd always been selfish. The rest of the table got quiet, but I could feel the judgment. No one questioned her story. They never did. I didn't argue back this time. I stood up, reached into my bag, and pulled out everything I'd been saving. I dropped a stack of papers on the table. Printed call logs showing I'd answered her calls, screenshots of texts where I'd offered to help, receipts from the wedding stuff I'd paid for. I didn't say anything at first. I just let it sit there. My dad picked up the call logs, flipping through them. My mom grabbed the dress receipt and stared at it. My sister didn't move. Her face went white. The room stayed silent for 5 minutes straight. No one knew what to say. My mom finally broke it, saying I must have faked the documents. My dad stayed quiet, just looking at the pages. My sister still didn't speak. The silence didn't last. My sister snapped out of her freeze and tried to turn it around. She said I was obsessed with proving her wrong, that I'd gone out of my way to dig up old stuff just to ruin her engagement. She claimed the receipts and screenshots didn't mean anything, that I'd manipulated everything to make her look bad. She stood up, pointed at the papers, and said I'd probably forged them to sabotage her happiness. My mom nodded along, saying it seemed like something I'd do. My dad put the call logs down and rubbed his temples, still not saying a word. The rest of the family shifted in their seats, unsure who to believe. Her fiancé stared at the table, avoiding everyone's eyes. She kept going, raising her voice, saying I'd always hated her success and couldn't stand seeing her happy. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The evidence was right there, and her excuses weren't sticking like they used to. My aunt picked up one of the venue emails and read it out loud, dates, times, my name confirming I'd been there. My uncle grabbed the dress receipt and asked why my card was on it if I hadn't paid. My sister stumbled, saying I must have hacked her accounts or something ridiculous. No one bought it. My mom tried to back her up, saying I'd always been sneaky, but it sounded weak. My dad finally looked up, his face tired, and asked her why my texts matched her phone number if I'd faked them. She didn't have an answer. That's when the cracks really showed. My cousins started talking. One of them, Jess, said my sister had told her I'd made fun of her miscarriage a year ago. Jess pulled out her phone and showed texts from my sister claiming I'd laughed about it at a family picnic. I wasn't even at that picnic. I'd been out of state for work. Jess had believed her until now. Another cousin, Mike, chimed in. He said my sister told him I'd refused to come to his college graduation, that I'd called it a waste of time. I'd actually sent him a card and a gift. He still had the envelope with my handwriting. He grabbed his phone and scrolled to find the photo he'd taken of it. The table turned into a mess of people pulling out phones, comparing stories. My sister's lies weren't just about me anymore, they'd spread to everyone. My aunt admitted she'd heard I'd badmouthed her cooking, which I never did. My uncle said she told him I owed him money from years back, which was news to me. Each person had a little piece of her fiction, and now they were putting it together. My parents sat there, watching it fall apart. My mom stopped defending her and just stared at the table. My dad asked my sister why she'd lied about Mike's graduation. She mumbled something about a misunderstanding, but no one cared. Her fiancé looked at her like he didn't know who she was. The whole thing unraveled right there, and I didn't have to say another word. The room stayed tense after the cousins spoke up. My sister tried to regroup, but she was losing ground fast. She turned to her fiancé and grabbed his arm, saying they didn't need this drama before their wedding. She told everyone I'd planned this to humiliate her, that I'd waited for the perfect moment to attack. Her voice cracked as she said it, and she started crying. My mom got up and hugged her, whispering something I couldn't hear. My dad stayed in his seat, flipping through the call logs again like he was trying to make sense of it. My aunt and uncle exchanged looks but didn't say anything. Jess put her phone down and stared at my sister, her face hard. Mike shook his head and leaned back in his chair. The rest of the family didn't move, just watched. I stayed standing, my hands in my pockets. I didn't need to add anything. The papers and their own stories did the work. My sister's tears didn't sway anyone this time. Her fiancé pulled his arm away and asked her why she'd lied about Jess's miscarriage. She said it was a mix-up, that she'd heard it from someone else and got confused. He didn't buy it. He picked up one of the venue emails and asked why my name was on it if I hadn't helped. She didn't answer, just kept crying. My mom told everyone to calm down, that we could sort it out later. No one listened. The damage was done, and they all knew it. Part 8. The room stayed tense after the cousins spoke up. My sister tried to regroup, but she was losing ground fast. She turned to her fiancé and grabbed his arm, saying they didn't need this drama before their wedding. She told everyone I'd planned this to humiliate her, that I'd waited for the perfect moment to attack. Her voice cracked as she said it, and she started crying. My mom got up and hugged her, whispering something I couldn't hear. My dad stayed in his seat, flipping through the call logs again like he was trying to make sense of it. My aunt and uncle exchanged looks but didn't say anything. Jess put her phone down and stared at my sister, her face hard. Mike shook his head and leaned back in his chair. The rest of the family didn't move, just watched. I stayed standing, my hands in my pockets. I didn't need to add anything. The papers and their own stories did the work. My sister's tears didn't sway anyone this time. Her fiancé pulled his arm away and asked her why she'd lied about Jess's miscarriage. She said it was a mix-up, that she'd heard it from someone else and got confused. He didn't buy it. He picked up one of the venue emails and asked why my name was on it if I hadn't helped. She didn't answer, just kept crying. My mom told everyone to calm down, that we could sort it out later. No one listened. The damage was done, and they all knew it. Word count for Part 8, 259. Part 9. By the end of the night, everything had shifted. My sister left with her fiancé, who hadn't said much after his questions. She didn't look at me as she grabbed her bag and walked out. My parents stayed behind, cleaning up the table in silence. My dad stacked the papers I'd brought and set them aside, still not talking. My mom washed dishes in the kitchen, her shoulders slumped. The rest of the family trickled out. Jess gave me a nod before she left. Mike clapped me on the back and said he'd call me later. No one apologized, but I didn't expect them to. I'd spent years taking the blame for her lies, and one dinner wasn't going to erase that. Still, it felt different. The air wasn't heavy with their judgment anymore. I didn't stick around long. I grabbed my bag and headed home, leaving the evidence on the table. My phone stayed quiet for a few days after that. My sister didn't call, didn't text, didn't try to spin it again. My parents didn't reach out either. Jess told me later that my sister canceled the bridal appointment I'd paid for, said she'd handle it herself. Mike said the family group chat was dead silent for the first time in years. I don't know if they'll ever admit they were wrong about me. I don't care anymore. I'd carried her lies long enough, and now they're hers to deal with. That's all I wanted, to stop being the villain in a story she made up.